In this video, we'll discuss a troubleshooting scenario in which a user has told the network administrator or the systems administrator that they're unable to access the centralized system. The user is Kramer. So Kramer actually tries to access the system and he basically gets access denied. So at this point, he's tried a few times, and then he notifies in this case, George, that he can't access the system. So the first thing, if you have access to the Windows tools, is to take a look at the zone information. So you can go to the Unix data node and find out if the user has an identity. So in here, the user does have an identity. There's a couple of things that we want to rule out right away. We want to rule out replication. So I'm already logged into that system, so I'm going to do an adinfo. And as you can see, I'm talking here to DC1, and my console happens to be talking to DC1 as well. So at this point, I can safely rule out that there may be a replication issue. Although I can still maybe determine if there's a connectivity issue. It still says that it's connected, but I can still use the adinfo -t to see if there's connectivity. And as you can see, the connectivity seems to be working correctly. So there's no connectivity issues with the domain controller. So we rule out connectivity. The other thing that we need to rule out is the user's account. So in this case, when I do AD query user, I only see George. So what I could do is maybe do an adflush to see maybe if it hasn't flushed yet. So let's go ahead and do an adflush. So these do. So still, George is the only guy here. So one way that we can verify is we could just use the show user effective rights here and say, okay, let me see, show effective Unix rights, and I can pick the computer, in this case send one, and I'm going to see George. So I think that is a configuration issue at this point. It is not related to connectivity. And I don't think it's the account, but I can still rule out the account. I happen to know that the username is in Active Directory is cosmo.kramer. So I could basically do an AD query user. If I do just the Unix name, it's going to tell me that it's not a zone user. So I know that there's a problem with I think it is the role, because it's properly provisioned, but you need an identity and a role to be able to log in. So I am pretty sure it's the role, but let's follow the troubleshooting logic here. So it's Cosmo Kramer -A. So for me to rule out the account, I can see, well, there's no Unix identity shown here. I can tell you that the user, his account is not disabled or expired. The account is not expired, and the password is not expired. But I think the culprit is here because, I think that he's a web admin, but he doesn't have the proper web admin group assignment. So for me to verify, let's take a look. I think the assignment is at the web admin's role. So I can take a look. Well, this is my web servers, and I can see that my CentOS 1 system is part of the web servers. Let's take a look at the role assignments. So the role assignment basically here says that the user it's assigned to an AD group, And in this case, the AD group is called Unix model web admins. The user belongs to Unix groups model web admin. So Unix model web admins, and he belongs to Unix model dash web admin. This is not the one that I'm looking for, so probably that was overlooked. And most likely all I need to do is add the user to the group. So I can do it from here. And again, I'm gonna follow my my own advice and say, okay, I'm connected to DC1. This computer is connected to DC1. So I'm gonna do right click here and AD properties. And all I need to do in this case is add our friend Cosmo. Right? I added him. It's the same domain controller. If I do an AD query user, still is not going to happen because now I need to do an AD flush. Remember, there was no replication in between, but the flush interval comes into play, right? Or I could tell him just try in an hour. That's what I prefer to do because I don't want to be running AD flush here and there. So I do an AD query user. And now I can see the user there. So again, it was identity plus role. We walked through all that to find out, rule out the connectivity with AD, rule out the account, determine now we can actually go to the user effective rights and pick the computer. And in this case, you can see George. And the cool thing is that you can see not only the identity, the role assignment, but also where the assignment was done at this level. So this is a great tool for you to determine who has access to what at any point. And I hope this video was useful.